ChatGPT is destroying the current generation, but probably not the reason you might think of. This video is not about boycotting AI, but understand the pros and cons from a self-development perspective, where we dive into the psychological and social context of using ChatGPT and explain why it could potentially slow down a learning process and bring development if we use it in a wrong way. In the end, I would also share with you how to use ChatGPT after months of experimenting. If you click on this video, most likely you have heard of ChatGPT before, but just in case, here's a little recap. Essentially, it's like a next generation search engine, like how you plan your schedule, which flights I should book, which university is more suitable for you, what major should you apply to, what restaurants and places I should go with my girlfriend at anniversary tomorrow. However, the convenience also comes with a cost. There's more and more students using ChatGPT to cheat their way to finish their assignments, essays, even exams. A recent study also highlighted the challenges faced by professors and staff in detecting students who use ChatGPT to plagiarize. But guess what? The study was actually written by ChatGPT itself and bypassed both plagiarism detecting software and human peer reviewers.
No! God, please!
What can I say? Because of that, some schools have attempted to ban AI technology entirely due to the possibility of cheating. However, I believe AI is not the root of the problem. It is an incredibly useful tool if we use properly. So, what is the problem then? To answer these questions, we must first understand what happened to our brains during the learning process. According to the famous chunking theory, learning occurs by breaking down complex information into smaller, more manageable pieces and then learning each piece.
When you're learning something new, you want to create a well-practiced neural pattern that you can easily draw to mind when you need it. So this is called a neural chunk.
Take, for example, solving a statistic problem. You might first look at the questions, identify the problem, search for appropriate formula, and then perform the calculation. In fact, every skills we learn, whether it's solving math problem, learning a language, or smashing the like button, involve the process of chunking and creating neural patterns. For example, researchers have shown that the higher chess players' ranking, the more solid neural patterns the chess they have memorized. When we rely too much on AI during learning process, we miss out on opportunity to practice chunking, which is essential to create solid neural patterns in our brain. And these patterns help us to develop a deep understanding of what we are learning now. It could be writing a research paper, summarizing important information into one piece, sending a formal email to your colleagues, even just like a day-to-day thing like planning out a date with your significant other. Relying too heavily on AI can also have an impact of the 4 pillars of learning, which include motivation, cognitive engagement, social connectivity, and emotional well-being. We're more likely to miss out the social and emotional benefits of learning, such as collaborating with our friends, experimenting the satisfactions of solving problems on our own, if we simply rely on AI to get our answers. Although for most students it seems like a more efficient way to finish the assignments, essays, and exams, we can improve or learn well without necessary effort. The overuse of AI in school settings can have consequences for not only individuals, but also for the entire generation.
The reality is that learning needs to be hard work. If it's not hard, then you're not getting this transfer. You're not making a solid long-term memory. So when stuff gets hard, that's when you need to be saying, cool, now I'm really working hard with my memory and I'm going to make some really good quality memories here. So don't be afraid of having to work hard. We give you activities that are hard because learning needs to be effortful.
So how should we use ChatGPT in a right way? After months of experimenting, here are 3 amazing study techniques that you might consider adding into your study toolbox. First, providing valuable advice from a neutral perspective. Let's say you have finished the first draft of your essay or written assignment. You can ask ChatGPT to analyze your piece and identify areas where you are doing well, as well as ones that you could improve on. This way you can get a general directions for your second draft from a neutral, objective perspective instead of asking your best friends and like...
Oh, I love it.
Secondly, organizing complex ideas into a clear, coherent structure. For instance, when I was discussing the chunking theory in the 4 pillars of learning, I used ChatGPT to ensure these 2 concepts were connected in a logical and meaningful way. I know some of you might already using flashcards or writing questions banks to prepare for exams, and preparing these materials typically takes most of us at least 1 or 2 hours. Simply copy and paste your notes into ChatGPT and ask it to generate the list of questions for you to test yourself. At the end of the day, learning has to be effortful. It might involve having multiple late nights, engaging hour-long discussions with your professors or your classmates, and even experimenting self-doubt. However, after we overcome all these challenges, looking back, we realize that these are the exact reason why we love studying so much and why we find studying fun and rewarding. As Cal Newport wrote in his book Digital Minimalism, for many, the core questions of is this the best way to use technology to support this value leads them to carefully optimize service that most people fiddle with mindlessly. So we must constantly ask ourselves, is it truly helped me to become a better individual, or is actually taking away my learning opportunity?
We hear from people who are excited. We hear from people who are concerned. We hear from people who feel both those emotions at once. And honestly, that's how we feel. Above all, it feels like we're entering an historic period right now where we as a world are going to define a technology that will be so important for our society going forward. And I believe that we can manage this for good.